Have you ever noticed your dog stretching the moment they see you? You step through the door and instantly front legs extended, tail lifted, high eyes filled with joy. Most people shrug it off as a casual stretch after a nap. But it's not. It's actually one of the clearest emotional messages your dog can send. And there's a good chance you've been overlooking it. Today we'll unpack the real meaning behind that gesture, along with 9 other unique behaviors your dog uses to speak straight from the heart. So if you've ever found yourself wondering what your dog is truly trying to tell you, and you love them enough to want to understand every signal, this is exactly where you need to be. Let's begin with one behavior that might make you raise an eyebrow, but once you know the reason, you'll never see it the same way again. You've probably felt it. You kick off your shoes after a long day, and before you can even sit down there, they are nose pressed to your socks, tongue going to work like it's their job. And maybe you've laughed, or told them to quit it, because, well, it's a little gross. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why now? This isn't random. Your feet carry a whole day's worth of information, sweat hormones, microscopic scent trails, and your dog can read every single one. Inside the roof of their mouth, they've got a special tool called Jacobson's organ. It lets them taste the air, taste your mood. And here's the thing, they're not doing it for fun. They're running a kind of emotional wellness check on you. If you've been stressed, frustrated, or carrying the weight of something heavy, they can smell that change. And when they start licking more than usual, that's their way of stepping in. They can't tell you, hey, you've had a rough one, haven't you? So they say it with comfort, with the only thing they have their touch. Think about it. How many people in your life notice your mood the second you walk in the door? Your dog does. Every time. And here's the kicker. The more you let them do this, the more they learn your patterns, the better they get at knowing when you need them. But not every act of loyalty from your dog involves touch. Sometimes it's about where they choose to be, especially in the moments you least expect. And that's where we're headed next. You've closed the bathroom door thinking you're finally going to get a moment of peace. And yet, there they are, sitting right outside. Or worse, they nudge the door open and just stare. You might laugh and say, "Can't I get a minute?" But here's a question. Why is your dog so determined to be there? It's not because they're clingy. And it's not because they're curious about what you're doing. In their world, the one shaped by thousands of years of survival, a closed door doesn't mean privacy. It means danger. Out in the wild, a pack member who disappears behind cover is vulnerable. That's when predators strike. So when your dog follows you and parks themselves by your feet or plants in front of the door, they're not invading your space. They're standing guard. They've decided in that moment, you're my pack, and I won't let anything happen to you. And think about how deep that runs. They'd rather sit in a cramped, awkward spot staring at tile walls than risk leaving you unprotected. That's not just loyalty, that's devotion in its rawest form. Now, sometimes that devotion shows up in total silence, but other times it's written all over their face. And if you've ever seen your dog tilt their head, just so when you speak, you might have missed the most fascinating conversation you'll ever have with them. You're talking to your dog, maybe telling them about your day. Because, yes, you do that. And suddenly, there it is. That slow, curious tilt of the head. One ear forward, the other cocked just enough to make you smile. And admit it. You've probably said, "What you don't understand me, do you?" But here's the thing. What if they do? That tilt isn't just for cuteness. It's a precision move. Dogs adjust their head position to fine-tune the way sound hits their ears. Tilt to the left, and they're zeroing in on the emotion in your voice. Tilt to the right, and they're working on the actual words, trying to decode a command. They're not just hearing you, they're processing you. Imagine that for a second. Your dog is matching your tone to every past moment you've shared. The sound of your voice when you're happy. The shift in pitch when you're worried. The quiet softness when you're sad. That little tilt. It's your dog saying, "I'm listening. And I care." Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. When they hold that tilt, they're not just collecting information, they're preparing a response. Maybe it's a bark, maybe it's moving closer, maybe it's a big goofy stretch that says, "All right, let's do this." And that stretch, that's not just a warm-up, that's where we're going next. You've been waiting for this one since we started. That stretch. You walk in, and before you can even say hello, your dog drops into that low front legs out, tail up pose. Maybe they even give a little wiggle, eyes locked on you. Most people think it's just them loosening up after a nap, but you already know better now, don't you? This is called a play bow, and in the language of dogs, it's about as clear as it gets. I want to connect. I want to play. I want you. It's not a random stretch, it's a ritual. Over thousands of years, dogs have used this exact move to start an interaction, to say, "This is safe. I trust you. Let's share something." And here's where the science kicks in. Studies show that these bows often happen after a pause, almost like hitting the reset button on fun. And when you respond, when you get down on their level, toss a toy, or just mirror their energy, something incredible happens in both of you. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, rises. Your dog feels it. You feel it. It's the same chemical that connects parents to children. But here's the part that might surprise you. Ignore it too often, and you might see it less. Not because your dog loves you any less, but because they've learned you won't answer the invitation. And for a dog, that tiny moment is everything. So the next time you see it, don't walk past. Give them 30 seconds. Drop your keys, meet their eyes, and let them know, "I missed you too." Because to your dog, that's not just a greeting, that's the best part of their day. And once the joy of that welcome fades, you might notice something else. They settle down beside you, and then that long, slow sigh. Is it relief? Is it contentment? Or is it something more? Let's find out. You've played, you've laughed, and now your dog is lying right there beside you. The room is quiet, and then you hear it. That long, slow sigh. Not a huff, not a grunt, but the kind that seems to drain all the tension out of them. Have you ever wondered what they're telling you in that moment? A sigh in a dog's world can mean more than one thing. If they're stretched out and relaxed, it's their way of saying, "I'm home. I'm safe. Life is good." It's an emotional reset after being apart, a way of letting their body and mind settle, now that you're back where you belong. But context matters. If that sigh comes while they're sitting up, eyes alert, it can be something entirely different, a low-key frustration, a quiet, "I'm waiting, but I'm not giving up." That's why paying attention to the rest of their body language is key. Relaxed muscles. You've got a content dog. Ears forward and stiff. They're holding space for something they think matters. Here's the beautiful part. Research shows that relaxed sighs lower a dog's heart rate. And when you're there beside them, your own body sinks to that calm. You breathe easier without even realizing it. That's not an accident. That's the bond at work, the invisible connection you've been building for years. So the next time you hear it, don't just let it pass. Let yourself match their pace. Sit with them for a moment. You might not speak the same language, but in that silence, you're having a conversation. And sometimes, when that moment ends, you'll see them wander off. only to come back carrying something of yours? A sock, a shirt, maybe even your old cap. It's not theft. It's something far more touching, and you're about to see why. You've seen it before you walk into the room, and there's your dog tail wagging proudly, parading around with one of your socks in their mouth. Or maybe you find it later tucked neatly into their bed, like it's some kind of treasure. And your first thought might be, great, now I have to wash that again. But have you ever asked yourself why it's always your sock? Why not a toy or something from the laundry basket that isn't yours? To your dog, that sock isn't fabric. It's you. It carries the strongest version of your scent, your sweat, your skin, the tiny chemical markers that tell them you're their person. When you're gone, holding on to that smell is like holding on to comfort. It's the canine version of a family photo in the wallet. Science even backs this up. Studies show that familiar scents can trigger a release of oxytocin in dogs, the same hormone that deepens bonds between humans. That smell calms them, reassures them, keeps the connection alive until you're back in the room. And the fact that they steal your sock instead of anyone else's, that's their way of saying, out of everyone in my world, I choose you. Sure, it might be a little inconvenient when you're looking for a matching pair, but think about the message behind it. They don't want a new toy. They don't want something fancy. They just want a piece of you. And sometimes their way of showing trust goes even further. Not just holding on to something that smells like you, but actually turning their back to you on purpose. Sounds strange? It's actually one of the highest compliments your dog can give, and you're about to see why. It happens quietly. You're sitting there, maybe reading the paper or watching TV, and your dog comes over. Then sits down with their back to you. No eye contact, no nudge for attention, just back turned. And if you've ever wondered, are they mad at me? The answer is almost always no. In fact, it's the opposite. In the wild, turning your back is a risk. It leaves your most vulnerable side completely exposed. A wolf, a coyote, even another dog wouldn't do it unless they were absolutely sure the one behind them meant no harm. So when your dog settles in with their back to you, they're making a choice. They're telling you without a single word, I trust you with my life. Think about how rare that is. How many people in your world do you trust enough to turn your back on and not think twice? Your dog gives you that trust every time they do this. And you have a chance to answer it. You don't have to make a big show, just reach out and rest your hand gently on their back. That simple touch tells them, I've got you too. And here's the thing about trust, it's not just about safety. In a dog's world, it's also about sharing what matters most. Sometimes they show you that by bringing you their most prized possession, dropping it right at your feet. And when they do, it's not just playtime, it's something far more meaningful. You've seen this before. You're sitting down, maybe just getting comfortable. And here they come, your dog trotting over with their favorite toy, clamped gently in their mouth. They stop in front of you, eyes bright, tail wagging, and drop it right at your feet. And sure, you might think, all right, they want to play fetch. But have you ever thought about what that moment really means? In the world of dogs, toys aren't just objects. They're resources. And in nature, resources are guarded, protected, kept for survival. When your dog chooses to bring you something they treasure most, they're not just asking for a game, they're saying, I value you more than this. I want to share what I love with you. It's even deeper than that. In a pack, sharing valuable resources is how bonds are built and alliances are strengthened. It's a sign of respect, trust, and affection all rolled into one. When they do this with you, they're treating you as a true member of their pack, maybe even the leader they look up to. So, what should you do? Take the toy. Even if you're busy, give them a moment. Toss it once or twice. Praise them. Show them that their gift matters to you. Because for them, it's not just a squeaky ball, it's a piece of their world they've chosen to give. And that sense of protection and loyalty doesn't end when the toy's put away. In fact, it often follows you into the quietest moments, even into sleep. Because the way your dog sleeps next to you can tell you more about your relationship than you've ever imagined. It's late, the house is quiet, and you finally drift off. Maybe you don't think much about where your dog sleeps, but they do. Every single night, they make a choice. Sometimes you wake up, and they're pressed against your side, their body warm and steady. That's their way of saying, "You are my safe zone." Other nights you notice they're on the edge of the bed, or curled up on the floor facing the door. That's not random either. That's guard duty. Dogs are wired to protect their pack while they rest. In the wild, one or two stay alert, watching the perimeter while the others sleep. When your dog positions themselves to face the doorway, they're keeping watch, making sure nothing gets to you first. And then there's the most touching sign of all, when they sleep with their back to you. That's not distance. That's total trust. They're exposing their most vulnerable side because they believe you'll keep them safe. It's easy to overlook, but those quiet hours say just as much about your bond as the excited greetings during the day. Every position, every choice they make in their sleep is part of the story you're writing together. And here's the thing, that instinct to watch over you doesn't switch off in the morning. In fact, it might be even stronger when they're awake. Sometimes they choose one spot in the house and stay there almost like they're on duty. And if that spot happens to be in the way you might think they're being a nuisance. But the truth is, they're being something else entirely. You're moving from one room to another, and there they are stretched out right in the doorway. You step over them, maybe even trip once or twice, and you can't help but think, why here? Of all the places in the house, why plant yourself right in the way? But what if that spot wasn't random at all? Doorways are high-traffic points. They're where movement happens, where paths cross, where someone could come or go. For your dog lying there means they can track where you are, see where you're headed, and react if something changes. It's a strategic position, one where they can keep you in sight and keep an eye on the rest of the house at the same time. This isn't about control. It's about readiness. In their mind, they're saying, if anything happens, I'm already here. I can move fast. I can protect you. And they do it without expecting anything in return. No treat, no praise, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing they're close enough to act if you need them. So the next time you have to step over them, maybe pause for just a second. Give them a pat. Let them know you see them and you know exactly what they're doing. Because whether it's standing guard in a doorway, sleeping with their back to you, or stretching into that joyful bow, when you come home, every one of these little moments is your dog's way of speaking to you. And when you start listening, really listening, your relationship changes in ways you can feel every single day. And speaking of listening, there's one more signal that might just be the cutest of them all, and yet it's packed with meaning. That little head tilt you've seen. In our next video, we're breaking down exactly what it means and why it's so much more than just adorable. So now you know. That stretch at the door, the lick at your feet, the sigh beside you, the sock in their bed, they're not random quirks. They're chapters in a story your dog has been telling you every day of their life. A story about loyalty, trust, joy, and the comfort they find just by being near you. Remember how we started with that greeting stretch you've seen 100 times? You can't unsee it now. You know, it's not just about loosening muscles. It's a ritual, a love note, an invitation. And the truth is, every single one of these 10 signals is just as powerful once you understand the language. Here's what I hope you take away. When you start noticing these moments, you'll realize you've been in a conversation all along. You've been speaking without words, answering without knowing. And when you respond, when you slow down for the stretch, accept the toy pause in the doorway to touch their back. You're telling your dog, I hear you, I'm here too. So pay attention. Every glance, every move, every little habit is a message worth catching. Because the more you listen, the stronger your bond grows, and that's something you'll both feel for the rest of your days together. Which of these have you seen in your dog? Drop a comment and share your story. I'd love to hear how they talk to you. And in our next video, we're diving into that famous head tilt, why your dog does it, and what it really means when they tilt to the left instead of the right. You're not going to look at it the same way again.